Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jane and I am just a parent living with estrangement. I hope you all are doing well. Today is Friday and it's the start of a new weekend, and I thought it was much needed that we talk about coping skills, how we all will cope and how we do cope with being estranged from our children. It's a hard thing. None of it is easy. And I do believe that there's good ways to cope, and then there's some not so good ways to cope, and then there's just not coping at all, right? Which I'm sure we've all had those kind of days. So I'm going to start with number one. And I believe that number one for coping with estrangement and moving forward is to give up the guilt. We have to give up the guilt. I know it's hard. I know we all look for answers on why we're estranged, what happened. You know, why did our child or children stop talking to us, start treating us like we're the enemy, like we're bad people. So we all look inward, right? We look outward, but don't we always look inward? Probably that's the first thing we do, is we look inward. Well, it must have been something I did. Maybe something my spouse did or didn't do. But I think we are harder on ourselves than we are on anybody else. I know I am. While I understand it, I've done it myself, I think we have to get rid of the guilt. We have to let that go. Number one, you can't change the past. Whatever happened, you know, maybe you think of a bad time, you know, an argument or something. We're all human. We've all yelled at one time or another, right? With our children. We've all yelled at them. Did we say something unkind? Maybe we did in the heat of an argument. You know, maybe they were throwing it at us and we were throwing it right back. It happens. But I don't believe that really has anything to do with it. I believe that now. I didn't always believe that, and I would wring my hands trying to figure out, you know, what I did, what I didn't do, that might have changed the outcome. But I truly believe today that it's not that. I just don't think it is. Unless somebody is an abusive parent, physically abusive, and emotionally abusive can be very traumatic for somebody. If you're constantly putting them down, you know, name calling, things like that, that's certainly not a productive way to parent. But putting those two things aside, and like I said, we're all human. We've all maybe not been parent of the year at one time or another. But for the most part, we loved our children. If anything, we're probably guilty of spoiling them. I know I am. I can say that. You know, he was my only child. And when people would say to me, oh, you know, you're spoiling him. And I'd say, well, what's the fun of having kids if you can't spoil them a little bit, you know? So I did. And I'm here to say I take responsibility for that. I didn't let him get away with just, you know, being a complete out of control kid. But on the other hand, I'd always try to maybe buy things that he wanted. Sometimes at my own peril, you know. But anyway, I digress. We'll put that aside and just say, you know, I made mistakes. I did. But I have let go of the guilt. And if you stick around towards the end of this video, I'm going to tell you why I believe that giving up the guilt is so important. So that's my first one, is letting go of any guilt that you have. And I truly believe that guilt, it's a useless emotion. It doesn't do anybody any good. It doesn't do your adult child any good. You know, you can apologize for anything that you did. That's, you know, something that I'm sure we've all done at one time or another too. That's a good thing. But that's not guilt. Guilt is just beating yourself up and carrying around this major burden on your shoulders that feels crushing sometimes. What good comes from that? They're living their life. You know, your adult children, I'm going to tell you right now, they're out living their life. They're going to go to the fireworks this 4th of July. They're going to, you know, and for you to carry that kind of burden it's not healthy. But anyways, like I said, stick around and I will tell you why. I mean, there's many reasons why it's a useless emotion. But I really feel it's extremely important to get rid of the guilt, first and foremost, in order to cope with maybe this estrangement lasting, because, you know, it could. It maybe lasted for years. I know it has for a lot of you. I know for me it's been around 5 years. But we don't know what's going to happen, and it could last indefinitely. So we have to know how to cope. We have to know how to move forward in our life in a healthy, productive way. I truly believe that. So that's the first one. The second one I call phone a friend. And I know that sounds a little glib and it sounds like maybe a game show. I think I got it from a game show. Phone a friend. If you are feeling down and you've been alone maybe for a while, and I know sometimes if I'm alone for too long without any human contact, my little voice in my head will start talking kind of negative to me. Sometimes it's a subconscious thing, I think, but I need to phone a friend, and I literally will do that. Or I will make plans to go out of the house and just be around people, just to get out of my own head. I think it's very, very important that we do that. So, you know, call a family member, call anybody in your group of people, you know, the people that care about you, the people that you feel comfortable with. Reach out. Sometimes it's hard to reach out because you think, oh, they're not, I don't want to bring them down. I don't want, you know, they don't want to hear about my problems. But, you know, they care about you. They really do. And by you reaching out, and I know this for me too, when I reach out, I can feel really sad. But after talking to a friend of mine for maybe 20 minutes, I don't even know if it takes that long, I start feeling better. And I will be laughing about something on the phone. And all of a sudden, I feel like a weight has lifted and I feel better. And it really is as simple as all that. Just reach out to somebody. So again, phone a friend, text a friend, go out amongst people, go out amongst them, and join the human race. It's extremely important for everybody to do that. And this is mothers and fathers. You know, don't isolate. It's not a good thing. It's really not a good thing. So that's number 2. So the third thing I'm going to say, which is a little upside down from, I guess, the opposite of what I was just talking about, but it isn't really. It's grieve when you have to grieve. You know, if this is new to you and you're new to being estranged, you know, you're going to grieve. It's normal. It is normal to grieve. Give yourself that time to be alone, maybe. I mean, you can certainly, you know, cry with a family member or a friend or, you know, whoever you feel comfortable with. But you can be alone too, and you can cry and grieve. But give yourself a certain amount of time. Be mindful, whether it's, okay, today I'm just going to stay in my PJs and, you know, eat chocolate and listen to sad music and cry. Or, you know, look at old pictures and cry. Okay, do that. But that one day. Don't let it move into 2 days, 3 days. Don't do that. That's the isolating part, that you don't want to get stuck in that grieving. And I have read a few comments where people have said that they were stuck in that grieving process and they just didn't know what to do. So that was another reason why I thought, maybe talking about coping skills and things people can do to help them get out of that, because that's not good, And I know it's easier said than done, believe me. I mean, I'm sitting here saying this, do this, do that, and do this. And I understand it's not an easy thing, but it can be done. If you want it to happen and you want to move forward in your life, you will be more mindful of how you're feeling, how long you're feeling that way, and what you can do to change how you feel. And again, sometimes it's as easy as picking up the phone or going out and seeing other people, So it's a very important. So that's my third one. Now, the fourth one, I'm going to say that it's kind of a self-care situation. I think if you can put some exercise in your daily routine, even if it's, a few times a week, if you don't do it every day, it can be walking, it can be bike riding, it can be, I know we're all maybe getting older, whatever, mall walking, depending on where you live. Going outside sometimes and just taking a 10-15 minute walk can really help your mood. If you go to the gym, great. If you've stopped going to the gym and you used to go to the gym, I urge you to go back to the gym. It's summertime now. Maybe go for a swim. Maybe take up something new like pickleball or, something, a new hobby. Something like that can really help you move forward. It's good for your body. It's good for your mind. You can make new friends. You can do, it's just good for you. It's good for someone to go out and get some physical exercise, get your heart pumping. And, before you know it, you start walking lighter. You just feel better. And that's what this channel, I truly feel that's why I started this channel. I want everyone to feel better. It's not a cure. There is no cure for estrangement except maybe reconciliation. But we can certainly learn to live with this. I really do believe that. And I feel that I'm living proof that you absolutely can learn to live with it. And the next thing is along that line of exercise, is to eat healthy. Maybe you're eating, potato chips and you're grazing all day and you're saying, well, I'm kind of sad, I'm depressed. I'm just going to eat chocolate. I don't really feel like eating a meal. I don't feel like, making a meal. I say, push yourself to either go out with a friend and eat in a restaurant, a normal meal, a healthy meal, or force yourself to make you something healthy. Something with vegetables, something with meat, protein, a balanced meal, not just eating, a McDonald's quarter pounder. Not putting down McDonald's quarter pounder, and YouTube is listening, not putting down McDonald's at all. But let's face it, it is fast food. They call it fast food for a reason. It's not the healthiest thing in the world. So I recommend doing that. I recommend eating and fixing yourself a nice meal or going out and having a nice meal. And that means fruits and vegetables and protein. All right. Now, the next one is pamper yourself. Now, when I say pamper yourself, I mean go to Starbucks and get yourself a fancy coffee and spend $10 because I know how expensive it is. And anytime I go to Starbucks, I don't go that often. I actually like Dunkin' Donuts better. But when I go to Starbucks, I feel a little fancy, you know. And maybe it's the price. I don't know. But I do feel a little fancy. I feel like it's a treat for sure. And, you know, something with whipped cream. And you just feel like you're indulging yourself. And you are, you know. Or buy yourself something nice. Or get a massage. If you're a guy and you want to, you know, there's a sports team that you like, buy the tickets and go with a friend. Treat yourself to something. Go to the movies. I know part of, you know, some of you are going to be saying, well, you know, I really don't feel like it. I really don't feel like doing anything like that. And I'm going to say that this is why I truly believe you've got to get rid of the guilt. Because I think holding on to guilt, whether it's conscious or unconscious, and I think a lot of people hold on to it unconsciously, you don't feel worthy. You don't feel worthy to do anything that I had on my list that I just told you to do. That's why I think guilt is the number one thing you have to let go of to move forward in your life. Because, you know, subconsciously, if you don't get rid of the guilt, you're not going to feel like you're worthy of spending $5 or $8 on a coffee beverage or going to a movie or buying yourself anything. You're not going to feel that you are worthy. And I'm here to tell you, you are worthy. You are one of God's children. And you are worthy to people. People care about you. And whatever is going on with your estranged child, I truly believe it has more to do with them and what's going on in their life than it has to do with the way you parented. You know, they're as complicated adults now as we were when we were that age, and as complicated as we are now in our life. Everybody is an individual, and you don't always see that when your kids are growing up. You know, you see them as little mini-me's, you know, running around, or they look like your husband or your wife, or, you know, or they look like this one and that one, and the kids look alike. And then when they grow up, you realize, well, they might have looked alike, but boy, do they have different personalities. And boy, you know, I mean, I can personally say that my son has traits that I didn't see in me or his father or my parents, and I didn't know his parents that well. I knew them, but, you know, I don't know where these traits come from. They're uniquely his because they are unique individuals, and we can't pigeonhole them and say, well, you know, they're extensions of us. Yes and no. You know, we made them, but they're individual people. They're their own people. And to take on the burden of this situation all on your own and saying, well, you know, I must have done, so it's all me. No, it's not. I'm here to tell you it's not. You know, I guarantee that it's them. It's something, and none of them are here, so I can't speak for any of them, including my own son. But it's what's going on with them. So we owe ourselves to move forward in our life. We did the best we could. That's all any parent can ever do, is the best that they can do. And even if you feel, well, maybe I didn't do the best I could do. I was working long hours. I was doing this. Think about it. Why were you working long hours? To make more money? Yeah. To pay the bills? Yeah. That's important. That's important. You know, I think everybody for the last 40, 50 years, they worry about being homeless. And it's not something that could never happen, because look at all the homeless people out there. You know, when I was a kid, now I can say this, I'm 67. When I was a kid, there weren't any homeless people. But as I got maybe into my teenage years, they had closed a few mental hospitals in my area, and people started walking the street. And I don't know if they were homeless or not. They didn't look too good, and they had raggedy clothes, and I remember it made a big impact on me because I had never seen anything like that before. I think I had had kind of a sheltered childhood, at least up to that point. But I think going on too, I did, because, you know, I had a good home, I had good parents, and I always had enough to eat, and, you know, I had what I needed. But worrying about taking care of your family is a legitimate worry. And if you were working hard, you know, long hours, don't beat yourself up about that either. You can't be in two places at once. And our adult children should understand that too. Especially, many of them now are parents of their own. They have children of their own. They should understand that, right? That, you know, providing for your family is extremely important. It's not everything, but it's a big part of being a parent. You want them to have a soft, clean bed at night, and you want them to have good, nutritious food, and you want them to go to a good school. You want all those things. You want them to have presents under the tree at Christmas time. That's being a good, loving parent. So don't beat yourself up for that either. So I didn't mean to go on like that about the guilt, but I do think it's that important that you work at getting rid of that guilt. And I am going to end this with the last one, which is extremely important in and of itself, that if you really feel that you are just in the depths of despair and you are really stuck and nothing works, nothing is making you feel better, please consult a professional. You know, I've been to counseling in the past, and it's a wonderful thing. They can help you. They really can. And at least give it a try. I mean, you can't really put it down. And I hear some people putting it down when they've never been. Please, if you're feeling that bad, isn't your feeling better worth trying it? You know, just try it, and you never know, because there might be a wonderful future out there for you that you might have missed out on had you not gotten the help. So that is my video for, I guess, this week. I've been doing videos maybe roughly once a week. I want you all to have a good weekend, a wonderful weekend. We're going to go into the 4th of July next week. And I hope you guys have a wonderful 4th of July if I don't put a video up before that. And please do something nice for yourself today. I truly mean that. And God bless you all. And I'll see you in my next one. Take care. Bye-bye.